When the life force first set out on the path of outgoing, the motive which impelled it onward was deep-seated desire in its heart to evolve and expand it itself into the man. I will read it again. The motive which impelled it onward was deep-seated desire in its heart to evolve and expand itself into the many. But when man appeared on the scene, he cried halt to this meandering multiplicity, for he feared lest he might be lost in the maze of things. The life force, however, carried on unmindful of the entity of man. Then he threw a challenge to it and said, if yours is a path of outgoing, mine is that of return. If you find your fulfillment in many, I shall fulfill myself through the realization of one. And ever since, these two parallel processes of outgoing and of return have been at work in the shaping of human history. For what is the spirit of human history? It is to weld the many into the one, to make brother of the stranger. It is to weld the many into one, to make brother of the stranger. And to this end, it has adumbrated three principal laws: the law of communication, the law of communion, the law of consciousness. Man's first contact with the things as with his fellow man is that of conquest. This is followed by that of communion. When he tried to know them, sorry, and the third and resultant contact is that of consciousness. When, after having established a relationship with his environment, he begins to know himself. These three channels of communication answer to the inherent needs of the trinity of the makeup of man, who has body, mind, and spirit. In short, there are three avenues of approach to the temple of life, of contact, of cognition, and of comradeship. The history of India too has been influenced, nay, integrated by the operation of these three laws, and so also that of Sindh. Otherwise, there is no meaning in the many invasions made by the foreign conquerors. The Greek, the Scythians, the Arabs, and the Persians came to India eventually for the purpose of opening of communication between the East and the West. For had not God spoken to the spirit of man in the whispers of the star-studded sky, that to him belong both East and the West? First, therefore, came the cavalry, and when the dust of the road, kicked up by its hurricane march, had settled down, and the blood-stained earth had been carpeted with the green grass, the people of Sindh heard the tinkling bells of the camels of the caravan. The soldier was succeeded by the trader. We learned from old historical records that the Romans purchased a certain kind of cosmetic from Sindh. The Greek books tell us that the Sindhis had a common mess. Ptolemy says that there was a place in Malaya archipelago called Sindoe, which was perhaps colonized by them. Sindh exported silk, indigo, and gems to Arabia and Java. She manufactured tiles, each of which had a peculiar ring. Pottery, which was the admiration of the whole world, and carpets, which matched well with those of Persia. The province was so prosperous that it could pay in the 6th century BC an annual tribute of about 150,000 pounds to the Persian king Darius. When the sound of the tinkling bells of the camels of the caravan had died, the people heard the still small voice. From God comes to the heart of man without a bell, candle, or book. They did not, however, understand it fully. Hence, the never ending chain of interpreters and annotators who were sent to them from time to time. The witnesses to this awakening of man's consciousness exist till this day. The ruins of old Jain temples in Bipah and Bulri, Udairlal and Birbah, of Buddhist stupas and monasteries in Mirpur Khas, of the images of Shiva in Sehwan, original name is Shivasthan, the presence of mosque and church, all intensity to the impact of the various visions of the reality. Sindh has been, down the ages, a miniature guest house of cultures, an abridged edition of the history of India. Perhaps she has been destined by Providence for this purpose, else Sufism would not have found a fertile soil in the province. And although Sir Charles Napier, after his conquest of Sindh, cabled to London, I have sinned, and thereby hangs a sad tale. I have sinned, the makers of history, which in essence is his story, a story of God's own life, carried out his own purpose and plans. The reaction of the people to these contacts has resulted in Sindh acquiring a spirit of adaptability, elasticity, and eclecticism, a hospitality of mind which is at once magnanimous and many-sided, a spirit of freedom to adjust herself to the new vistas and vision of truth, a spirit which says conformity is the hemoglobin of small minds. Or amicus Plato, amicus Socrates, said magis amica. That is, Plato is dear to me, Socrates is dear to me, but truth is dearer still. Hence the cry of the desert dweller, a cry which is heard in his kafis. Oh, where art thou? And when the hour struck, the first band of Sufis came to Sindh. The story goes that about the year 1350 AD, one Usman Shah, the courtier of the king of Baghdad, was seized one day, all of a sudden, with a desire to come to India. There was nothing in the circumstances of his life to account for this newborn impulse in his heart. For he was prosperous in every way, but the spirit belongeth where it listeth. It can, however, be explained on certain other grounds. Throughout our history, we find that there has been at work what the Germans called Drang nach Osten, impulse towards the east. Everybody has. The invaders turned their feet toward the east. The caravans of the culture turned their faces toward the east because they believed ex orientalus, that is, light comes from the east. Why? Who can tell? May it note with that India has been intended from the very dawn of history to be the cradle of civilization, the open arena for the adventure of truth. Has God kept in her hands the secret of life, the magic word Sesam, which flings open all the doors in the mansion of the Father. The sun rises in the east, so does the sun of truth, which is enshrined in the magic words Shantam Shivam Advaitam. Does not the sun symbolize this truth? Does he not rise in the east, in the silence? Does he not rise in the silence of the dawn and enter our human world with the self effacement of the new bridegroom? Does he not illumine the interrelationship of things and thus unite them in himself, the many in the one? Well, to resume the story, Usman Shah heard the call from India and tendered his resignation to the king. The king dissuaded him from what he probably considered to be a will o' the wisp. But Usman Shah remained firm in his decision. He had three friends, Sheikh Bahawaldin, Faridganj, and Makhdam Jalal Uddin, whom he persuaded to accompany him to the land of light. They responded, for in them too the spirit had been working out her own purpose. Great. The day of departure was fixed. The four friends came to the harbour without the burden of any personal belongings, for they had mutually pledged to one another that they would not take any belonging with them. When they were in the midst of the Arabian Sea, their boat began to sink. Usman Shah asked his companions to pray for providence, and as they prayed, he felt that one of them was secretly carrying some symbol of worldly wealth. So he queried his comrades. At first they replied that they were not carrying anything with them. But eventually one of them confessed that he had hidden a brick of gold in his armpit as a provision against the rainy day. Usman Shah took the brick from his friend and threw it into the sea. And lo, the boat began once more to sail smoothly. Verily, truth must have the aspirants all. She cannot compromise with reservations. That is why prudence, in the sense in which the word is used by the worldly wise, is for the man of spirit the arithmetic of fools. The prudent man believes in the figure one, yeah, I, which according to him endows the zero with value. While the man of faith believes that it is zero which endows one with the value. For he, the man of faith, says, Astra, Castra, Numen, Lumen. That is, stars are my camp, God is my lamp. At last the four friends reached Sindh. They came to Sahaban, which was full of book-bound priests. When the Muslim priests heard of the arrival of the newcomers and suspecting that they were perhaps Sayyads, their potential rivals, they sent them a vessel filled of overflowing with milk, implying that the city was already overfull with priests. Usman Shah returned the milk boat with a petal of flower placed on its top to signify that he and his friends would only float on the stream of life and not shut themselves up like them into the stagnant pool of sex and priestcraft. And so the four friends settled down for some time in Sahaban, but the spirit of truth must perforce broadcast her message. So after a few months' stay, she sent Bahawaldin to Uch near Multan in Punjab, Uch, and the other two to two different places. They were followed by Khwaja Hassan Nizami from Baghdad, who went to Delhi and settled down there. What did these Sufis teach? They taught the eternal and the one lesson ever taught in the school of spirit is be disciples of truth and not of the disciples of truth. Mind it. Very important thing. Be disciples of truth, not of the disciples of truth. Or the use of Sufi phraseology at the tryst of truth. Let only the lover and beloved, Layla and Majnu, meet and none else play the part of the go between. Where is the tryst of truth? In the heart, which the Sufis call place of the beloved. The sculptures being so to speak, the office rooms of the beloved, the secretariat of the governor of the universe. Now, this standpoint runs counter of that of the secretarians who believe that truth dwells in the head and that the sacred books are the dark chambers of the king. To speak without a figure, the Sufis taught the people to be non-conformists. Say Shah Latif, keep the contrary eye, move contrary to the masses. If the world moves down the stream, you move up the stream. At another place he says, men fight shy of vice. Men fight shy of vice. My beloved turned his face from me because of virtue. The people were taught to be radicals of the deepest dye, to be heretics. Singh Satchel. The way of heresy, the Murshid means teacher. The way of heresy, the Murshid himself taught me. So long as these mosques, these so-called holy places, these raised towers do not crumble to dust, so long the path of the Spirit cannot be seen clear. Say he in another place, through virtue and vice, none knew God. Do not we hear the same strain of Gitanjali? Full many an hour have I spent in the strife of the good and the evil. But now it is the pleasure of my playmate of the empty days to draw my heart onto him. Sings Bedil, another Sufi of Sindh, the lover is a Sikh of religion. Why does the Sufi disapprove of this, so to speak, dissection of the truth of life? Of this forgetting of the flower in the counting and colors of the petals, because, he says, to quote Gitanjali again, only in the deepest silence of night the stars smile and whisper among themselves, vain is this seeking, unbroken perfection is over all. Or as Shah Latif say in the beautiful passage, he himself is the splendor of the splendid, he himself is the soul of beauty, he himself is the form of the beloved, he himself is teacher, he himself is pupil, he is thought himself. All this is known within the soul. He himself sees himself, he himself loves himself, he himself creates abundantly, he himself longs for his created. He is this, he is that, he is the Lord of death, he is the Lord of life, he is foe, he is friend, he is here, he is there, he lives in the mind, he himself sees the light of himself. But how is this affirmation of the one to be realized? Through what Satchel calls the mystery of negation affirmation, or what according to Shah Latif is being non-being. Or as Bedil sings in a song, there is no need to study or teach books. Learn only the secret of self-effacement.